Bonjour! Today we're visiting the French National Assembly in the heart of Paris. We are actually in the left bank in front of La Seine. And right now we're walking toward one of the buildings because there are two. And this is the building that belonged to the Marquis de Lassay. It's called the Hotel de Lassay. And it has a small garden that's very cute at the entrance. Nowadays, the president of the French National Assembly, it's a woman, and she has her office in this building. You're going to be able to see it later. I'm going to show you where she works. We can see that it's like a village inside Paris. There are lots of buildings with offices, and then the two main buildings. And finally, we're in. We were able to get in the Hotel de la Seine. We're entering the room of games, and in the times of the Marquis, he used to exhibit his paintings by the Flemish, the Italian, and the Spanish schools. Every Tuesday, there is a conference that takes place in this room, and the president, the vice president, the standing committee chairman, and a group of chairmen and the ministers for relations with Parliament, they meet in this room to set the Assembly's agenda for the current week and also for the following 2 weeks. We're going to enter 3 saloons or rooms that the decoration is very similar, the colors, the fabrics that they use, and each one of them have a chimney. So the first room is called the room of the seasons, so the 4 seasons, and it has beautiful allegories and paintings, and they were made by Francois Joseph M. From here you can see the Grand Saloon or the Grand Room, same decoration. The allegories that they show are toward the dance, the reading, and also peaceful things and pleasure. And the last room is the one that shows the elements like wind, fire, earth, and water. So you see all these beautiful allegories to the 4 elements. When you enter this garden, it's so peaceful that it's really difficult to imagine that we're not so far away from the busy Place de la Concorde. Now we're entering the dining room. It's quite big. It has beautiful full windows from the ceiling to the ground. We get to see toward the outside, so it gets a lot of sunlight. And the ceiling is gorgeous. Like most of the palaces in France, you have to look at the ceiling because they always have frescoes, and this one is no exception. Individual visits are free of charge, and the maximum is 5 visitors per group. They are going to ask you to have a reservation, so you have to visit their webpage, and you have to take with you an identity document. It has to be the original, and that's also for children above 14 years old. They also are going to ask you for your ticket to be printed or in your cell phone. Recommended to arrive 5 minutes beforehand, because if you're not on time, you will lose the chance to get in. Metro line is the 12, the 1, or the 8. We are at the presidential office. This is the place where the president works. She examines her agenda from this place. And there is a bell on her desk. So when the session at the assembly is about to begin, they announce it by ringing the bell. The president comes out into the gallery that nowadays is the Grand Gallery, and she is preceded by two ushers. Even though this gallery you don't see mirrors, but it does makes you remind of the Gallery of Mirrors of Versailles. The previous gallery is connected to the Tapestry Gallery, and it's called like this because it has tapestry from Gobelin and also from Beauvais. They are really gorgeous, and when you think that the size that they have, and they are totally made by hand, they are so delicate and it has so much detail. It's really amazing, the handcraft. This is the entrance for the press. And now we enter what they call the room or the saloon of the Lost Steps. It's a very particular name. And they use it for gathering. Like between sessions, the people can come out and gather there and maybe have a chat, discuss anything. So it's like an open area. It goes toward gardens. See also all the paintings by Eugène Delacroix. We're actually at the Bourbon Palace with its neoclassical architecture and the imposing facade. It's a typical French architecture. The garden as well, it's manicured. Such a beautiful place full of flowers. Depending on the season that you are able to visit, you will see different kinds of flowers. And now we're going to enjoy the drummers while they last. These gardens are really well kept. It's a joy to be here because you can see such a variety of flowers and colors, and depending on the season you will find different types of flowers. And also the French facade, it's really gorgeous. Right now we're listening to the Republican Guard, and they are part of the National Gendarmerie, and they are responsible for special security duties in the city of Paris. This room was an extension of the Palace of Bourbon, and they asked at that time Delacroix, the painter, to take care of all the decoration and the paintings, and he had a lot of critics that were against him, but soon they realized that he was doing such a good work that people were happy about it. The Bourbon, it's the meeting place for the National Assembly. So it's the lower legislative chamber of the French Parliament, and it's located on the 7th arrondissement of Paris, on the left bank. Looking at a bronze bust of Marianne, she is one of the symbols of the République Française, and at the end of the 19th century, eloquently, she was installed in place of the throne of King Louis-Philippe d'Orléans. He belonged to the House of Orléans, and his reign was the last one to rule France. The original palace was built beginning of 1722 for Louise Françoise de Bourbon. She was the Duchess of Bourbon, and she was the legitimized daughter of Louis XIV, Louis XIV, and the Marquise de Montespan. She wanted something not luxurious, and look what she got. From here, we're walking toward an inner courtyard that belongs to the Palace of Bourbon, and you can see at the very end a huge door, and that's supposed to be the main entrance. The sculptures that we find on both of the sides of the entrance, they are the universal suffrage and the law. They were added during the Second Empire in 1860. And we have a huge granite ball in the center, and that was made by an American sculptor called Walter de Maria, and it's the sphere of human rights.
C'est très bas, mais c'est très bizarre. En fait, c'est violet.
The human rights are written on the wall that is curved around the sphere. We're entering the room of the Marianne. This is a symbol in France. It represents the République. There are 35,000 mayors' offices in France, and each one of them have a Marianne. They can choose any, like for example, there is a Marianne that is represented by Brigitte Bardot. There is another one represented by Laetitia Casta, the model. For any library lover, this library, it's really something. It's like a dream come true. It has around 700,000 volumes. Decoration is all made by Delacroix, the famous Eugène Delacroix. The walls are totally covered with books. It's very well kept. The original manuscript of the anthem of France, La Marseillaise, can be found here in this library. Sadly, this library also contains the original manuscript of the trial that led Joan d'Arc to the stake on May 30th, 1431. The conference room actually it's a place for lecture and also for the deputies to get together and have conversations. What everybody wanted to see, the hémicycle. It's a place where the 577 deputies that represent France get together in sessions of 9 months, starting in the month of October and finishing in June. The deputies are elected for 5 years. The deputies of the Socialist and other parties of the left are seated to the left of the speaker, and those of more conservative parties to the right. The president of the assembly is seated on a high desk and it's against the wall. He has an armchair. Sessions of the chamber, they are open to the public, so if you're interested, you are able to see it, but to have access, you have to request through the office of a deputy, and you have to do that on time because there is not much space. France has a parliament. It's composed of 2 chambers, and the National Assembly and the Senate. And the Senate works from Palace of Luxembourg. It's a palace that it's on the grounds of the Garden of Luxembourg. It's really gorgeous. I don't believe that it's open to the public, but there are special dates where they are, so you will have to Google it and see when that can happen. This is the facade from the National Assembly that everybody can see from the street and from Place de la Concorde. And most of the times we think that that's it, but it's much bigger than that. This part belongs to the Palace of Bourbon. I highly recommend, if you have the time, and maybe it's not the first time that you're visiting Paris, to try to get the tickets on time and visit the National Assembly. It's part of the French history, and the deputies' primary role is to debate, amend, and pass laws. I hope you enjoyed as much as we did visiting the National French Assembly, and we dedicate this video to all the people that want freedom, equality, and fraternity.